I was about to film this video just right now, and I spilled this I refilled it, this size cup of water, it's iced tea size, all over my keyboard, all over my camera battery, all over my memory card, and all over everything that I think is expensive in my life. So that was a stressful 30 seconds where I thought everything that I hold dear to my heart died. Friends, hello, hi, how are you? I hope you guys are having an amazing day today. So today's video, we are doing something I'm excited about. I came up with this idea like a while ago, and I thought it was a kind of cool idea because I feel like there's a lot of talk about on YouTube when you're a YouTuber. Products kind of get their one moment on your channel and then they're gone. So if you do like a first impressions, or I do slays and nays every month, where every month I kind of talk about things I like and didn't like, I noticed that like you didn't change your mind on a product. You didn't work with it and then change your mind and then tell everyone, because it's kind of like its moment has passed. So today I wanted to talk to you guys about products I had to work for. Makeup that I tried the first time, wasn't super obsessed with, and then found ways to make work for me. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing today. There's a lot of different reasons some of this stuff didn't work. Some is petty, some is the actual problem. But for whatever reason, these are just products that the first time I tried them or saw them or used them, I wasn't crazy about them. And over time, I've learned to love them. They're now my babies. So let's get started with the only non-makeup product. So this is the Moroccan Oil Treatment. Looks like this. I got this for my am I 23 or 24? I got this for my 24th birthday. I got this for myself from my hairdresser. It was on sale and she convinced me to buy a couple bottles. And the first time I used it, I hated it. You know when you go to the hairdresser and they make your hair look better than it's looked in a million years? I thought by buying this, I would be able to recreate how she made my hair look, which was better than it had looked in a million years. And then I bought it and I used it. My hair looked like a greasy mess. It would make my hair, I would need to shower like every single day and like actually wash my hair every single day because my hair would get so greasy. And that wasn't normal for me. So I was using this and I was like, it has to be this stuff. It's making my hair greasy. Then I realized I wasn't evenly distributing it well enough. So what I was doing was taking like a dollop. I used like 2 squirts, 2.5, because my hair is pretty long. So I used like 2.5 squirts and I would just like kind of like pat it, and then I would just kind of like go in on the ends really hard. And I realized that's not what I should be doing. So my hairdresser told me, she was like, you need to be rubbing it like all over your hands really, really good, even on like the back of your hands, like rubbing it everywhere, and then evenly distributing it through your hair in all different places. So by having it like only in certain parts of my hand, when I was rubbing it in, it was only getting on one section of my hair, which was making that part of my hair look really greasy. That's why I had greasy hair. So the better way I learned how to use this was to evenly distribute it. And since I've been doing that, I have been obsessed with how my hair looks. I think it looks amazing. I mean, not to toot my own horn, but I think it looks really pretty. I love the length. That is the longest it's ever been in my life, and I love it. And I think it's really soft. It does still get a little frizzy, but I have some like anti-frizz stuff I use for that. This was one that I really didn't like at first. I thought it was doing that thing oils typically do to me, which is make them, although now that I'm thinking about it, because I used to hate oils for that reason, because it made my hair greasy, but maybe I was just always using oils wrong. Yeah, I need to give all the oils I tried in my life another chance. Okay, next. This one I actually bashed in a video. So this is Allmark Cosmetics. This is their Colorette Blush Trio. What I have found with this, after I posted that video, first of all, a lot of you guys agreed with me and said you also hated the palette. And a lot of you guys said that if you weirdly enough, which this products shouldn't be like this, just so you guys know. But a lot of people were like, the more you use it, the more you'll like it. Like the top layer is pretty bad, but then once you actually get past that top layer, it's actually really good. So I did that on these two because I actually liked these colors a lot. This one's a little too light to even show up, but I did it on these two colors. I tried to like use it. Like I tried to force myself to use it on days when I didn't really care how my blush looked, just because it wasn't very pigmented. So I've been doing that, and I'm actually wearing it today, this orange shade. And while I still think it's definitely not as pigmented as I would like my blush to be, it is definitely more buildable than I first gave it credit for. Unfortunately, you have to use this a lot to get to making it good. And I think that sucks, and it's not something, and I don't condone it. I still wouldn't buy this product because I think that's silly. I think it's silly that you would have to use something you don't like multiple times in order to make it something you do like. It should just work when you buy it. You should just be able to like it when you buy it. But I do want to like update that I do think this works for me now, especially these two shades. They're actually quite pretty once you get them to work. The formula is nice. The lasting power isn't like fantastic, and they still are, again, like I said, are not the most pigmented, but they're definitely better than I thought they were. Before I was like gonna throw this away, I thought it was trash. Now I'll probably keep it for like a blush day like today where I have this really light eye look and I just needed something light. Next, okay, so the Anastasia Beverly Hills Sun Dipped Glow Kit. I bought this when it was Black Friday last Thanksgiving, and you can see it hasn't gotten a lot of views, but I talked about it in a video and I was like, I don't like it. I didn't like this palette. I thought it was not pigmented. It wasn't very good. I didn't think the glow was like particularly amazing or groundbreaking. I couldn't understand why everyone thought this was like the best glow kit that ABH has put out, because for me, it just really didn't work. And I felt the same way about the Sugar Glow Kit. What I have found is that you have to either wet your face with setting spray or wet your brush before using these. If you go in a dry brush, like I am right now, it's just not going to show up. Whereas if you spray it first, it is pretty beautiful. Like, I'll do an example. I prefer to spray my brush first just because I think that works better, but to each their own. So if you spray the brush first, and I'll go in with this shade now, and it really is super, super blinding and pretty. Still a little bit more texturizing than I liked, but my big complaint with it at first was that it wasn't glowy nor pigmented. This is just something you have to do an extra step with, which I think a lot of highlighters, especially older formulated highlighters like these, because these have been around for a while, older formulated highlighters I think were like that. There hadn't been a standard set yet that highlighters needed to be like one swipe pigmented amazing like some of them are now. So I think just because this is an older formula, it's like that. However, once you spray it, I mean, it's beautiful. It's really, and I think you guys, honestly, a lot of these are products I changed my mind about because of you guys. Like, you guys were able to give me tips on how to make them work for me. That's why the makeup community on YouTube is dope, because we give each other advice and it's awesome. So that would be this palette. Let's do the other highlighter. So this is the Juvia's Place Loose Highlighter. I really just had to work with this, and that you guys are gonna be like, because it's a loose highlighter. I know. I had to work with this because I struggled with picking up the correct amount on my brush. This was more something that I knew I loved from the get because the formula was amazing. It was so pigmented, it was so blinding, it was so glowy and beautiful. Like, I loved this from the get-go. However, I did have to learn how to use it. Like, it wasn't something that I bought and immediately knew how to use. I definitely had to work on how I dip my brush in it, how like aggressively I dip my brush into it, how aggressively I wanted to tap stuff off. Like, this is something that, because it is a loose powder and because you don't, it's not like a setting powder where you can just put on however much and it's like whatever. This is such a, like, you don't want to overpower your cheeks, at least I don't. This one was more of a learning curve because I had to learn how to use loose highlighters, especially a super pigmented loose highlighter, because this is like, you need the tiniest amount and it's very hard to grab on like a bigger highlighting brush. Like, it's hard to grab the actual amount you need. What I do with this highlighter, if you guys want a little tip, I have these little tiny brushes that I use for like nose contour, and I'll use these and I'll kind of like place like 3 dots on, and then I take my actual highlighter brush and like highlight it out, and that's how I apply it, because it just gives me the right amount instead of dipping my big highlighter brush in there, getting way more than I need, and then either having to waste a bunch by tapping it off or having to like look crazy. You guys may be surprised, but this is, I just grabbed this particular palette, but this is actually all Juvia's Place palettes, and it's not because of the formula. The Juvia's Place eyeshadow formula is, I mean, it's beautiful. It's very, very, very pigmented. The color, this is the Masquerade Mini, by the way. The colors are gorgeous, like everything is great. I had to work for these palettes, and I think this was actually like, this is gonna sound lame, but I think these palettes actually helped me expand my idea of color when it comes to eyeshadow, because for me, I had to work for these because I looked at the colors and I just couldn't figure out how to make them work together. Like, I just couldn't figure out how to make them cohesive. I struggled because the colors, like this one's a better example of one I figured out, but even when I did figure it out, I was either using these neutrals or these top ones together. I was never mixing and matching because I just couldn't figure out how to make the shades that they put in the palettes work together. And that's the reason people love Juvia's Place palettes, is because their color stories are very unique and different. They're not something you see everywhere, and the formula is amazing on top of that. That was something that was actually a negative for me at first because I couldn't figure figure out how to make the colors work together in a way that was like cohesive. What I realized I needed to do was, number one, be more creative, and number two, and I don't think there's any shame in this, I looked it up. I looked up eyeshadow looks people did with the palettes that I had, and it gave me inspiration. Sometimes I think there's this like weird thing where YouTubers who do makeup aren't supposed to admit that they like watch other YouTubers who do makeup, but I am fully admitting that I am not the most creative person sometimes, especially when it comes to eyeshadow. I struggle with color theory and color stories, and so I googled people who had like the Masquerade palette, and I saw the looks that they created, and I replicated them, and by replicating them I got more used to what colors paired nicely together, and then I was able to use the palettes more on their own. So if you have palettes like these, palettes that are, you just look at them and you're like, I'm inspired and I want to use you, but I creatively just don't know how, look it up. I guarantee you there's hundreds of people who have creatively found a way to use these types of palettes, and they are willing to help you and inspire you to do the same. So that's my tip for like palettes that you're not super good at. I had to definitely study to learn how to use Juvia's Place though. This is the No Problem Prime Essence by Touch and Soul. I love the original No Problem primer, so when I got this I was intrigued because I was like, oh, they make one good primer, they'll make two. This, I hated it when I first tried it. First of all, it comes out of the tube, it's a water based, like you can actually hear it rattling around. Kind of a gross noise, I'm sorry, but you can hear it, and it's got like this little type of dropper as the applicator, and it comes out very fast. So the first couple times I used it, it was honestly just like I was using too much product. The other thing I realized about this was this is definitely a product that doesn't stand on its own for my skin type. So because I have pretty intense pores, especially in my T-zone, this product, when I would try to use it alone, I felt like it was doing nothing. Like I didn't feel like it was particularly doing anything, to be perfectly honest. I would put it on and I would be like, there's... But then I realized that this is a primer that I have to mix things with. So what I'll do is I'll put on, this sounds really weird, but trust me, I'll put on like my Bobbi Brown face base or my Clarins smoothing primer, put those on, and then I'll pour this, I'll like dollop that on because it's like a cream. Pour little bits of this like here, and then I'll take that priming brush, my priming kabuki brush, I think it's over there, take my priming kabuki brush and I'll rub it all in and mix it in together. This works as such a good base to lighten primers that might be a little bit thicker. So for example, my Bobbi Brown face base is a little bit of a thicker primer. If I don't want it to be necessarily as crazy thick going on my face, because the Bobbi Brown face base and the Clarins smoothing primer almost feel like a layer like that you're putting on in a good way. It's like a moisturizing layer, but it still feels like a layer. This makes it not as layery, and it also makes it a little bit more tacky. Those primers aren't particularly tacky from my experience, so this helps add tackiness to, I just hit myself in the face. This helps add tackiness to those primers that don't typically have it. So this is more of a like, I would say it's like an aid to other primers instead of standing on its own, because on its own it's bad. It's just really bad. But like when you mix it with other things and you work with it, it's really good. P. Louise. Oh. So I got this. This is the P. Louise eyeshadow base. I believe I have the shade 01. I got this for my birthday and I was so excited because I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna be like all the Instagram models. I'm gonna have my P. Louise base. Like, I'm so excited. And then I got it and the first time I used it, I loved it. I thought it was the most amazing thing. It made my eyeshadow look beautiful. I think I did it right the first time and then couldn't figure out how to replicate it. It's just tricky because you don't need a lot. You need very, very, very little. And I think the main problem I had with this was that it would use too much. I also found that it would definitely crease on my eyes very badly. What I found, when I first got this, people were like, don't set it. You don't need to set it. Just leave it as is. They don't have crinkly eyes. So I have really crinkly ones. So I had to be setting it, and I wasn't because people told me not to, and then I just tried it one day because normally I would set an eye primer. So I tried it one day and I had a lot more success of leaving my eyes kind of like eyebrows up, slightly closed, and I would like pat it on and I would use my sponge. That's the other thing I did. The first time I used it, first few times I used it, I tried to use a brush to blend it out. It was horrible. Use a sponge to like blend it out because it was bad. So I used a sponge to blend it out and I leave my eyes like almost closed with my eyebrows up like this. and I set it with a powder and really get it in there and really try to like set all of my creases first, and I find that I have much better success with this. I still do think this is a little bit thick, and I definitely wouldn't repurchase this because I think for the price of the actual product and you pay shipping from the UK, it's overpriced for what it is. And it is thick, but I do like it when I do more sort of like crazy colorful eye looks, because it really does make the shadows pop beautifully. Like they pop so nicely when you use this. Let's talk about this bad boy. This is the Anastasia Beverly Hills. This is their new brow product, the Brow Pomade Gel. This was like a lot of trial and error. This took a lot of practice. So when I first got this, I was excited because I basically thought it was just going to be a brow gel. It's not. It's so like grotesquely pigmented to the point I put it on and my eyebrows just looked like solo, like how you would put on a brow gel, like a pigmented brow gel. You would just put it on solo. It was so pigmented that it was like scary. My brows were so dark and they looked so overdrawn, and you could see the brush marks from where everything was because it's so I was used to like the Essence Gimme Brow, which is like not the most pigmented thing in the world. It's very natural looking, which is why I liked it. So I was a little thrown off by that, and I didn't really know how to use this. I find this is best not used on its own. That's my personal opinion with it. The brush is kind of big. It's bigger than you would normally see. What I used to do is start like here and just brush all the way through the whole eyebrow, and that really didn't work for my eyebrows. So what I then started to do, I saw videos where people would like stick their brush in here and use it as like a pomade. I wasn't really interested in that because I have the ABH pomade, so I was like, I'm not gonna do that. So what I will do is I'll fill in my brow with some sort of, like, this sounds like a lot of work, but it's not. I'll fill in my brow with some sort of pencil or pomade, which is my preferred way of doing my brows. And then I like to put a gel over top to not only set it in place, but just to give a little bit more color. So I will take now a clear brow gel, usually the ABH clear brow gel, and I'll run that through just this top part right here, the front part of my brow. And then I take this and I rub this through the end of my brow, through the tip, and I almost, through like the flick of the brow, and I almost use the top part of the brush as kind of like almost like its own brush, kind of, just to really emphasize the little flick that you got going on here. That's kind of what I do with this product now. And like I almost drag it. You need very little, so this will last me a long time. I find to set my entire brow with it, it's just too much. It's too overpowering. But once I played around with it and realized its purpose, I think now I have a much better purpose for it, and it does make my, like, this part of my brow just look a little extra, like, you know what I mean? This one was simple. So I got this ColourPop No Filter foundation, and the first time I tried it, I really didn't like it. And then I realized, because I used to only put on my foundations with a sponge. That was the only way I would put it on. I thought brushes were actually pretty dumb. I thought they were streaky. I thought there was no way to not make it streaky, and I didn't really love brushes. So I used sponges. And then one time I bought the Morphe Y11 brush. I think that's what it's called. The Y13, it's like a foundation. It's their big foundation brush. And I bought that and I loved it. I loved how to apply foundation. So I started only using that to apply my foundation. And I did that for a while, and then I got this foundation. This is the ColourPop No Filter foundation. And I put it on with a brush and it looked horrible on me. Like, you could see the streak, you could see the texture. It just looked so, I'm wearing this today actually, so bad on me. So I was like, trash. They tried. Sorry, ColourPop, you lose. And I hated it and I didn't like it. And then I realized that what I could do, I just did this on a whim one day, because I remember I had the Fenty foundation, and this is how I had to apply the Fenty foundation to make it look good. And I was like, why don't I try this with this ColourPop one? I don't want to give up on you. So I tried it using a brush and a sponge. I would do the brush first and really buff it in with the brush, but leave all of those brush strokes and all of that texture that the brush would leave with this foundation. And then I would go in with a sponge, my little sponge, I would go in with a sponge and I would smooth everything out with the sponge. This is the most beautiful foundation when you do that. It looks, I'm wearing it right now, so sorry that I'm just staring at myself, but it looks seamless. Like, it looks so pretty when you do that. So that was my big tip, was like, sometimes I think with foundations, and this is why I don't love first impressions for foundations, because I think with foundations, it's very easy to just do it the wrong way. Some foundations, especially because skin types are so different, are just super temperamental. So if you have a foundation that you don't like, maybe switch up the way you're applying it, because I've actually ended up loving foundations that I previously hated because I used a different way of applying it and a different technique. I think because there are so many different ways you can do it, that would be something to look into. So that was my trick with this one, and now I love it. I mean, I wear it a lot and I think it's beautiful. Let's talk about this. So I only have like 2 left. This is the Peach Blur Powder. I actually bought this at TJ Maxx for like $10 when I was in Virginia, and I was so excited and I bought it, and then I was using it and I loved it. I thought it looked so pretty on my skin. I loved it. And then I was watching a video, Get Ready With Me, and I'm looking at the footage and I'm editing it and I'm like, why am I turning pink? And I was turning full pink. This was turning me pink. If you can tell, it has like a pink tint to it, and that is what was turning me pink, was this. So I talked about that in a video. I was like, it turns me pink. And a lot of you guys suggested using it as sort of a blush. I don't think it's pigmented enough to be its own blush when I do like a full beat. However, when I'm doing more natural days, this is beautiful. It's so, so pretty. If I'm just doing like a concealer, mascara, highlight kind of day, and I want to throw on this as like a little blush to rosy up my cheeks are very, very red. So even when I do like light makeup, like not a lot of makeup, I'll just do like concealer over my cheeks to cover the redness, but I don't want it to look just like whitewashed. This is the perfect flush of pink without making it brings out the natural color in my pink cheeks without making them look super, super red by themselves. This has actually been perfect as a blush. I think if you find this at Marshall's and you want like a blush kind of situation, this is good. I don't think it's good with like a full beat though. So if you just do full beat all the time, don't buy this. And also don't use it as an all over face powder because you're gonna turn pink and look ridiculous. But yeah, I was happy I found a use for it though, because I didn't want it to go to waste, and the packaging is so cute. Next, so this is the Milani Hypnotic Lights Holographic Lip Topper. So this was an error in my reading. I don't know if you guys know this, I've been going through a massive gloss phase. I literally went from owning probably 3 lip glosses to like 50. Number one, brands have been sending me a lot of lip gloss because it's summer and they're all launching lip glosses. And number two, I've been buying them like a crazy person because my friend Nisa. So I bought these Milani lip toppers, and in my head I was like, topper, gloss, same thing. So I put it all over my lips. I looked like a disco ball. It's very, I'll like swatch it for you. It's got a duochrome shift to it, and it's very, very sparkly and pigmented. And I looked crazy with it all over my lips. It looked a little nutty. On camera it actually looked really pretty, but in person it looked nuts. So what I found with this, which I think maybe you guys are gonna be like, well, that's a lip topper, that's what you do. I didn't know. I'm not perfect. So what I do is focus it on the center, and then I have like a little bit of like I spread it around a little bit, and then it is the perfect amount of subtle glitter and shimmer without being overwhelmingly all over my lips, crazy amounts of shimmer. I also think shimmer lip glosses like this that are super, super shimmery don't look fantastic on me because my lips are kind of small. So when you have that much glitter, it's like overwhelming on my lips. Whereas when this amount of glitter, where it's just that tiny little bit I put right there and then spread it around a little bit, it's a lot more manageable, and it actually has a really beautiful effect, especially with this eye look actually. I should have worn this from the start. This is really pretty. But I think that worked really well. So just so you know, because I didn't, topper and glosses, different thing. The final product I want to talk about is Morphe's concealer. I actually got their white concealer. I bought it because I was trying to do this like Bratz doll challenge. And it was really cheap, so I bought it. And I was like, man, I feel dumb. After I did the challenge, the challenge went horribly wrong. It was amazing. But after I did that, I was actually kind of like bummed because I was like, man, I just kind of wasted money, because I was like, I'm never gonna find a use for this. I actually use this almost every single day. This is fantastic for making this part of my under eye specifically super, super, super bright. I do get not crazy dark circles, but I have a little bit of darkness right in here just because I don't sleep. And I tend to have really bad dark circles like right in there. This has helped so much. Normally my concealer would like cover it up, but my concealer never got quite like bright enough in contrast to my foundation, because I tend to wear, I think a lot of people wear foundations that are a little bit darker for them, and then it makes their concealer pop more. I don't really do that. I just find foundations that I try to make match my skin tone really well, and then I tried to use like the same type of shade concealer. I wasn't really doing a super contoured effect with my concealer. This makes it so I can do that. So now I can still have concealers that match my skin for like more natural days, but I can amp it up when I do full beat, and I can use this on my, especially here and on like the bridge of my nose, to really contour those sections of my face and make them pop and make them brighter, whereas that wasn't something I was doing before. And I think it actually not only makes my contour look a little bit more like and better, it also just makes my face as a whole look a little bit more like pulled in, which is what it's supposed to do. That's like why people use such lighter concealer shades, you know what I mean? So yeah, that was makeup that I had to work for, makeup I had to figure out, makeup I had to use a little bit before I could realize the true purpose of it in my collection. I'd be really interested to know what makeup you guys feel like you had to work for, so if you want to let me know down below, that would be fantastic. I love you guys so much. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please like and subscribe, or just like, or just subscribe, or do neither. I'm honestly just so happy you're watching me. Thank you so much for being here. My brand new merch that I just launched, all new designs, everything, it's all new. I'm so excited about it. Will be linked down below, so please go check that out if you're interested. And all of my social medias and everything I'm wearing on my face will also be down there. And yeah, I love you guys so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!